Now, the Royal Bank of Scotland Chief Financial Officer says further job cuts are inevitable. This comes as Britain's biggest government-owned lender accelerates its investment in technology. Ewen Stevenson also said restructuring costs of £2.5 billion announced last week relate to the disposal of properties, Brexit planning and ring-fencing. Here's my interview with the CFO.
We've always said that we want to talk to our people before we'll talk publicly about job cuts. I think it is inevitable there will be further job cuts, but we're not going to talk publicly about figures. I think also within those restructuring charges you'll see a lot of that relates to getting out of properties, a lot of that particularly head office buildings that we're in today. A lot of it relates to some legacy technology costs like data centres that we're planning to get out of. And there's also some of that spend relating to things like Brexit planning and ring fencing.
We'll talk more about Brexit shortly, of course. Will there be more branch closures, though?
Look, I think we're very comfortable with the shape of the branch network as we've now announced it. But again, I think we've been very, very public. If we are going to shut branches, we'll give 6 months' notice and we'll talk very publicly about it.
Let's talk about Brexit then. If the UK and the EU don't reach a transitional deal by the end of March, what are your contingency plans?
Look, we're doing all of the sensible contingency plans that you'd expect us to do. It is a complex piece of planning for us. We've talked previously about needing to set up a subsidiary in Amsterdam, so we're continuing to progress those plans. We have a very big bank in Ireland. We have a very big bank in Northern Ireland. So the issue of the Northern Irish Republic of Ireland border is something that's important to us. We're also very focused about what the impact is on our customers. Again, our view is that a lot of the smaller mid-cap companies today are underprepared for that sort of timetable.
And how many people might you move out of London in the event of no transitional deal? What sort of numbers are we talking?
Well, we've talked publicly about needing about 150 people in our Dutch operation. I think some of those will come locally, some of those will be transferred from London. We're taking that pace as slow as we can until we understand what the transitional arrangements are or not.
Would you move them all in one go or in increments?
No, I think you'll find it'll be a very slow movement of people over time.
Still no update, though, on the US Department of Justice RBS probe. Do you expect to settle that in the first half of this year?
So we've got no update on timing. Look, we'd like to get it settled. The DOJ is aware of that. We're working hard to try and get it resolved, but nothing further to say at this point.
Could it be the first half, or do you expect it to be more in the second half?
If I was sitting here a year ago, I would have expected it to be last year, so we're not making predictions at this point as to when it may get settled.
Yeah, I understand it's somewhat out of RBS's control, and you've said that you may take further provisions as discussions with the DOJ remain beyond your control. When might you set aside more provisions?
I think it depends on the nature of the discussions we're having with the DOJ, and depending on the nature of those discussions as to when and if it's appropriate to take additional provisions.
Yeah. What would be the worst-case scenario you're preparing for in terms of the amount of the provisions?
Look, we run multiple scenarios. All we've done, as you saw in the results the other day, we've been very focused over the last few years on building up our capital buffers. We've now got our core Tier 1 ratio up over 16%, so the thing that we can do is continue to run long capital and long liquidity.
The dividend, reinstating the dividend, of course, depends on the settlement of the DOJ probe. When is the earliest the dividend could be reinstated?
And it's very linked to the earlier discussion. I think we need to get RBS resolved with the DOJ. I think once that's resolved, we can very quickly get back into a discussion on dividends.
2019 likely?
Again, I wouldn't want to make predictions, but we're very keen to start paying dividends again.